Meet Matt, the client. Matt wishes one day to join the ATP Tour and travel the world playing tennis like his idol Roger Federer. He is highly motivated and wishes one day to be the Australian Open champion. Matt enjoys long walks on the beach and is allergic to wasp stings. Matt was a sprinter previously, therefore there is no positive or negative transfer into the skill of a tennis serve. Currently in the beginner stage of learning, it is hoped that after the program he will be at the novice stage of learning, progressing from the cognitive to the associative stage of learning according to Fitt's theoretical model. However, although highly unlikely, he wishes to be on the professional tour within a few weeks of completing the program.
Look, you can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
The tennis serve, using a one-dimensional approach, can be classified as a closed and gross skill, as well as a serial motor skill, as it involves a series of discrete skills. It is categorized in 2B of Gentile's two-dimensional taxonomy table, as it involves object manipulation via the racket and ball, and low intertrial variability, shown by the side of the court you serve from and your position on the baseline, as well as stationary regulatory conditions including the racket, the height of the net, court dimensions, and the ball.
The tennis serve can be broken into 3 phases: preparation phase, acceleration phase, and the follow-through phase. These phases can be further broken down into 8 stages: start, release, loading, cocking, acceleration, contact, deceleration, and finish. The starting position of the tennis serve is to stand side-on to the baseline. The instruction given to the client is to stand partly side-on to the baseline. The release of the ball is next and should be done above the head, making sure the arm is straight. The instruction given here is to throw the ball with a straight arm slightly out in front of you. Loading is important to get right as it facilitates higher ball velocities. The instruction given here is to bend the knees and keep your eyes on the ball. Cocking, also known as the backswing, is where you bring the racket up behind the shoulder in preparation for ball contact. The instruction given here is to swing the racket behind your shoulder. Acceleration follows, where you explode to the ball, extending the racket arm. The instruction given here is to swing your arm towards the ball. Stage 6 is contact, where the arm is fully extended and you're hitting the ball at its peak in the middle of the racket. The instruction given here is to hit the ball with your arm extended. Deceleration or follow-through is when the racket arm is swung through. The instruction given here is to follow through with your arm. Finish is the final stage of the tennis serve, in which you prepare for ball receive. The instruction given here is to land in preparation for ball receive. Training begins with the client performing the entire tennis serve. Various drills are used, starting with the basic drills and progressing to harder ones in the later weeks. The client begins with the ball toss. The ball toss is a key aspect of the tennis serve, and the ability to throw it at a consistent height enables the server to strike it at the optimal level. A demonstration is given and they are instructed to keep their arm straight. We then progress to throwing the ball over the net, which allows the client to practice the follow-through of the racket arm without having the racket in hand. They are instructed to try and throw the ball into the opposite service box. Follow-through is then practiced with just the racket. They are instructed to bring the racket up behind the shoulder and swing it back in front of the body, imagining you are making contact with the ball above your head with your arm fully extended. Once the client is comfortable with that, ball contact is initiated via coach-assisted follow-through, with the client focusing on the ball and correct follow-through. The verbal cue is eyes on the ball. A demonstration is given and this is progressed onto the client completing the ball toss and follow through alone. The verbal cue is wasp swatter. Imagery is used throughout the sessions in order for the client to get a real vision of what they're trying to do. The follow-through is then practiced without the ball while focusing on correct loading. They are to pretend they are completing a ball toss while bending the knees. The verbal cue that is given is bend your knees. At the end of every session, the client practices the entire tennis serve. In the last week, it is progressed for the learner to be prepared to receive a return shot to add specificity to training.
A number of different performance measures were gathered using quantitative and qualitative testing methods. These were conducted prior to commencing training. Quantitative data was collected by counting the number of serves out of 10 the learner could successfully place in the service box. A hit the cone target practice test was also used and a score was given every time the serve hit the cluster of cones. There were 5 trials of this test. Qualitatively, observations were made about the movement and to provide emphasis on areas for improvement and strong areas. These included observing the ball toss with emphasis on if the arm was straight, noting the presence of a follow-through, and identifying the point of ball contact on the racket. A subjective score out of 5 was given. During the transfer test, regulatory conditions were changed, increasing the difficulty of obtaining a correct outcome for the skill. By changing the court dimensions to make the service box smaller and asking the learner to hit the ball into the left or the right hand side of the service box from varying positions on the baseline. The service box was altered using cones. A subjective score out of 5 for each shot was also given to provide subjective, qualitative analysis of the movement as well as analysis of key movements of the skill being observed. The average of these scores were taken.
My master made me this collar. He is a good and smart master, and he made me this collar so that I may talk. Squirrel! My master is good and